The cage that fell into the sea. The sky was dark, filled with black clouds. Waves crashed against the side of a large cargo ship moving slowly through the ocean. Rain poured down, and lightning lit up the night for short moments. Inside the ship, no one cared about the noise. The crew was busy checking containers, talking and laughing. In the back of the ship, away from the other cargo, there was something different. A metal cage. Old, rusted, and covered with a dirty cloth. No one came near it unless they had to. Inside the cage, a girl sat with her knees pulled to her chest. She was not human. Her skin was pale blue and had tiny glowing spots. Her eyes were closed, her breathing weak. Her long hair was wet and stuck to her face. She was cold and hungry. Her clothes were torn. Around her neck there was a metal collar with blinking red lights. The crew called her excess cargo. To them, she was just something unwanted, a mistake. Earlier that day, the captain had received a message. The buyer didn't want the girl anymore. She was too weak, not useful. Get rid of her, the message said. No refund. So they locked her cage and pushed it near the edge of the deck. They planned to dump her at sea. As the storm got worse, the ship rocked more violently. The cage slid slightly, moving an inch every time a wave hit. One big wave crashed into the side of the ship, and the cage tilted. The crew didn't notice. They were drinking inside, waiting for the weather to calm. Then another wave, huge and powerful, slammed into the ship. The cage shook, moved, and suddenly tipped over the edge. It fell, spinning into the cold, deep ocean. The sound was drowned out by thunder. The girl inside the cage woke up just as water touched her feet. Her eyes opened wide in fear. She tried to scream, but her voice was weak. Water rushed in through the cage bars. She grabbed them, pulling herself up, trying to stay above the rising water. Her small hands slipped. Her collar blinked faster. She was going to drown. But far away, closer to a small fishing boat, someone saw it. Leo was a fisherman. He had finished for the day and was heading back to the shore. But the storm slowed him down. As he looked out into the sea, lightning flashed again. For a second, he saw something fall from the cargo ship. It looked like a box, but there was movement. Another flash of lightning, and he saw a face. Glowing, blue eyes. Leo grabbed his binoculars and looked again. It wasn't a box, it was a cage, and someone was trapped inside. He didn't think twice. Leo turned his boat and moved closer. The waves were strong, but he pushed through. The cage was already sinking. Only the top corner still floated. He reached the spot and jumped into the water without even tying the rope to himself. The ocean was freezing. He swam fast and dove under. He reached the cage just as it was disappearing beneath the surface. Through the water, he saw the girl, barely moving. She looked right at him, her eyes full of fear, like she had already accepted death. Leo pulled at the cage door, locked. He swam back to the surface, gasping for air. Then he dove again, using a knife from his belt. He wedged it between the lock and twisted. Nothing. He kicked the cage, pulled, and twisted again. Click. The lock snapped open. Leo pulled the girl out with all his strength. She was light, almost weightless. He swam upward with her in his arms. When he reached the surface, he could barely breathe. But he held on to her and kicked toward his boat. Minutes later, they were both on the deck. Leo coughed hard and checked her pulse. Weak, but she was alive. Her chest moved slowly. Her skin glowed faintly. Her eyes opened, then closed again. She didn't speak. She couldn't. Leo stared at her, confused and worried. Who was she? What was she? She didn't look dangerous. She looked broken. He covered her with a blanket and started his boat again. Behind them, the cargo ship moved on, its crew still unaware. They had no idea that the excess cargo they threw into the sea had survived, and they didn't know what Leo had just saved. Because she was not just a girl, she was something far more valuable, and someone would come looking. A breath between worlds. Leo carried the strange girl into his small wooden cabin near the sea. The storm had passed, but the air was still cold and wet. The girl's skin felt like ice. She was still breathing, but her body was shaking. He placed her gently on an old couch and wrapped her in thick blankets. She looked too young to be out there alone, and too different to be from Earth. Leo had seen many strange things while fishing: floating machines, lights in the sky, even strange metal pieces in the water. But never a girl like this. Her hair shimmered faintly. Her skin had tiny dots that blinked, fading in and out. She had long fingers and small ridges along her neck. She wasn't human, that much was clear. He didn't know what to do. Should he call someone? The police? A hospital? He looked at her again. Her collar had small blinking lights and strange writing. It looked like a tracker or a lock. She had been locked in that cage like an animal, and someone had thrown her away. He sat beside her and watched her chest slowly rise and fall. For a moment he thought maybe she wouldn't survive the night. But then her eyes opened. They were wide and glowing with fear. She tried to sit up but fell back. Her lips moved, but no words came out, just a soft sound, like a whisper. Leo raised his hands slowly, showing he meant no harm. "It's okay," he said calmly. "You're safe now." She looked around the room. Her eyes stopped at the door, then at the window. She was afraid someone would come. Leo could see it clearly. She had been hunted before. Maybe she still was. He walked to the small kitchen and brought her a cup of warm broth. He helped her sit up and brought the cup to her lips. She sipped slowly, then stopped and looked at him. There was a question in her eyes, but no words. Still, he understood what she was asking. "Who am I? Just a fisherman." "My name's Leo," he said. She pointed to herself, then tapped her chest twice and whispered, "Aya." Leo smiled gently. "Aya, that's your name?" She nodded weakly. Over the next few hours, Leo gave her water, covered her wounds, and stayed nearby. She didn't talk much, but she listened. When he spoke, she stared at his lips, like she was trying to learn his words. Her collar blinked slower now, and she didn't seem to be in pain. But something about that collar still worried Leo. It looked like something made to control, not protect. Later that night, as Leo sat outside looking at the stars, he heard a soft voice behind him. "Why? Help me." He turned around. Aya was standing, holding the blanket around her small frame. Her voice was weak and broken, but the words were clear. Leo shrugged. "Because no one else would." She stepped closer. "They throw me away." He nodded. "I saw." Her eyes filled with tears, but they didn't fall. She stared at him for a moment, then whispered, "Thank you." Leo didn't know what to say. He just gave her a quiet nod. That night, Aya slept inside his cabin, curled up on the couch. Leo stayed awake most of the time, checking outside often. He didn't know who might come, but he felt something deep inside, like helping her was the right thing. She wasn't just another being. She was lost, hurt, and scared. The next morning, Leo woke early and found Aya already awake. She was sitting near the window watching the sea. When he came close, she pointed outside and said one word: "Stars." He looked at her confused. Aya pointed to the sky again. "I fall from stars." Leo realized what she meant. She wasn't just from another country or even another planet. She came from the stars, and someone out there had locked her in a cage. Leo's hands tightened. Whoever had done that might still be looking for her, and now she was here, with him, and things were only going to get more dangerous. The wounds she carries Aya's body looked calm, but Leo could feel something was wrong. Her skin still shimmered, but it flickered now like a dying light. She stayed quiet most of the time, her voice soft and slow, but her eyes watched everything. She was afraid of sounds, loud ones especially, and whenever Leo picked up something, metal, she flinched as if expecting pain. That's when he noticed the old scars running down her back like burns or cuts made on purpose. Some were thin and deep. Others looked like they'd come from needles or sharp tools. These weren't wounds from an accident. Someone had done this to her. One day, Leo tried to take off the strange collar around her neck. She stopped him quickly with both hands and shook her head. No, it hurts. Leo stepped back. Who put that on you? He asked. Aya looked down. Then she whispered a name he didn't know. Bradran. Labkeeper. It sounded like a title, not a person. Over the next few days, Aya tried to speak more. She learned Leo's words faster than any human child. She listened carefully and copied sounds. She didn't talk about her past much, but when Leo asked gently, she told him this. She had been taken when she was young, taken from her home planet. The people who caught her said she was rare, useful, and important, but she never knew why. She was passed between scientists, buyers, and ships like a living tool. None of them saw her as a person. She was always in a cage. Always locked, always silent. I was number, she said softly. Not girl. Just Unit 37. Leo felt a burning anger in his chest. He couldn't believe anyone, human or alien, could treat someone like that. He didn't know who these people were, but he knew one thing. Aya was not going back. That evening, as Leo fixed a broken solar lamp outside his cabin, he noticed a faint humming sound. At first he thought it was his tools, but then Aya stepped out, holding her arms tightly. Her body was glowing again, but not from health. Something's close, she whispered. Something's close, she whispered. They find me. Leo grabbed his old binoculars and scanned the skies. Nothing at first. Then he saw it, far above the treetops, moving slowly. A black shape, floating without sound. A drone, not human-made. It shimmered with light like it was half visible and spun gently like it was searching. Aya fell to her knees. Her collar blinked faster now, pulsing red. They're tracking me, she said. That's what this does. It calls them. Leo ran inside and grabbed a screwdriver and some wire cutters. I'm taking that thing off, he said. Aya shook her head in fear. If you break it wrong? Boom. Leo froze. It explodes? Not big, she said, but enough to kill me. They sat in silence for a moment. Leo looked at the drone again. It was getting closer, scanning the area. He made a decision. Pack what you can. We're leaving. But where? Aya asked. Leo looked at her with steady eyes. Far from here, somewhere no signal reaches, somewhere they don't expect a human to help you. Aya nodded slowly. I trust. Before leaving, Leo went to his old safe. Inside, he took out a few things he hadn't touched in years. A map, an old tracker scrambler, and a dusty silver disc. It was alien tech he had found years ago tangled in a fishing net. Back then, he didn't know what to do with it. Now, maybe it could help. As they packed their things, Leo asked one last question. Aya, why you? Why would they go through so much trouble just for you? Aya hesitated. Then she touched the center of her chest and said, Because I'm not just alive. I carry energy inside me. Star energy. I don't know how. They wanted to open me. To take it. Leo stared at her, speechless. This girl wasn't just rare. She was a living power source, a key to something bigger. And now that she was free, those who had owned her would stop at nothing to take her back. They were no longer just hiding. They were running for their lives. Hunt for the asset. In a secret room lit by cold blue light, a figure stood in front of a screen. His face was hidden beneath a dark helmet, and his voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. She's alive. The screen showed blurry images, heat signatures from a drone hovering near Earth's coastline. One of the signals was unmistakable. The collar's beacon had pulsed briefly, revealing the girl's location, but now it was silent again. Hidden. Send the recovery unit, the figure ordered. No more mistakes. I want the asset returned, dead or alive. Back on Earth, Leo and Aya moved through the thick forest. They had left the cabin at dawn, walking through trails only he knew. Aya's collar was covered in aluminum foil and old tech parts to block the signal. It wasn't perfect, but it was slowing them down. Leo had never been more alert. Every bird sound, every tree rustle made him freeze. He didn't tell Aya, but he had seen something the night before. Red lights flashing in the sky. Not planes. Not human drones. They were coming. Aya walked quietly beside him. She was still weak, but each day she grew stronger. Her wounds healed faster than any humans would. Her energy returned slowly, like fire returning to a dying candle. But something inside her was changing too. At night, Leo had seen her hands glowing when she slept. Small sparks danced between her fingers. He didn't know what it meant, but he knew it wasn't normal. Aya noticed it too. "I feel full," she whispered once. "Like I'm holding lightning. It grows when I'm close to you." Leo blinked, in surprise. "Me?" She nodded. "Your care, your heart. It feeds me." Leo didn't understand it, but there was no time for questions. They reached a hidden cave Leo had used years ago while hunting. It was dry, safe, and deep in the rocks. They lit no fire, spoke little, and rested. But that night, the sky changed. Far above, something entered Earth's orbit. A ship, silent and black, shaped like a crescent moon. It floated just outside radar range. It sent down 3 hunters, machines, made to track, trap, and erase. One of them landed quietly near the forest, scanning everything. It moved without sound, like it was part of the shadows. The next morning, Leo went to check the path ahead. Aya waited inside the cave, but she felt something like a heavy weight pressing on her chest. Her collar pulsed once. A warning. She stepped outside and saw it. The hunter stood at the cave entrance. It was taller than any man, with glowing red eyes and long arms made of black metal. Its voice came from nowhere. "Unit 37, you are claimed property. Return immediately." Aya's legs shook. Her body remembered the pain. Every time they used her, every time they tested her. But then she remembered Leo. His hands, his voice, his kindness. "No," she said. "I'm not yours." The hunter raised its hand. A net of red light flew toward her. Before it could trap her, Leo returned, running, shouting. He threw a flare, device blinding the machine for a second. Then he grabbed Aya and pulled her back into the cave. They ran deeper. Behind them, the hunter tore through the rock like paper. Leo and Aya reached the back of the cave. It ended at a wall, but Leo had a plan. He placed a device on the rock, something he had built years ago to break through stone. With a loud pop, the wall cracked open, revealing an exit tunnel. They ran through it, the sound of metal footsteps echoing behind them. When they reached daylight again, Aya fell to the ground, breathing hard. Leo turned and faced the cave. He placed his last explosive and blew the entrance shut. The hunter was trapped, for now. But Leo knew it wouldn't stop. He looked at Aya. "They'll keep coming, won't they?" She nodded. "Until I'm captured, or destroyed." Leo clenched his fists. "Then we don't hide anymore." Aya stared at him. "What do you mean?" "We fight." She looked into his eyes. He was just a man. No weapons, no army. Just courage. But something inside her responded. A new light sparked beneath her skin. Maybe they had a chance. Man versus machine. Smoke still rose from the collapsed cave behind them, and the ground trembled slightly. Leo knew the machine was still alive. Trapped maybe, but not defeated. They didn't have time to rest. He grabbed Aya's hand and pulled her deeper into the forest, toward an old bunker he hadn't visited in years. It wasn't much, but it had tools. and Leo needed tools now more than ever. Aya walked beside him without speaking. Her eyes were distant, like she was remembering something painful. Her fingers twitched every few seconds. She could feel the energy in her body building faster and faster, like it was no longer under her control. "They put something inside me," she whispered. "Something that grows when I'm scared, or angry." Leo looked at her, concerned. "Can you use it?" She shook her head. "No, I never learned. They never taught me, only tested." By the time they reached the bunker, the sky was already darkening. Clouds rolled in heavy and low. Leo pushed open the heavy door and led her inside. The place smelled like rust and dust. Old weapons, wires, batteries, and scraps of alien tech lined the shelves. Leo had collected them over the years, bits of things that fell from the sky, strange machines caught in his nets. Now they were going to be useful. He set Aya down on a chair and started working quickly. He strapped on an old vest, powered up a handheld scanner, and began building traps using tripwires and pulse charges. Aya watched him with wide eyes. "You were a soldier?" she asked. Leo laughed once dryly. "No, just a man who's had to survive things no one should." He handed her a small device. "If I tell you to run, you run. This will hide your signal for a few minutes." Aya looked down at it, then up at him. "And you?" "I stay," he said simply. "I slow them down." That night, rain began to fall again, and in the darkness a sound broke through the silence. Metal footsteps, slow, heavy, getting closer. The hunter had escaped the cave, but it wasn't alone this time. 2 more units had landed, 3 against 1. Leo knew he wouldn't survive in a straight fight, so he didn't plan to fight fair. He waited, hidden behind trees, watching through night goggles. As the first hunter approached, it stepped directly onto the pressure plate he had buried. A loud blast sent it flying into a tree, sparks bursting from its limbs. But it stood up again. Leo cursed under his breath. So they're tougher now. He moved quickly, drawing them into the deeper forest where he had set more traps. Energy spikes triggered, shorting one machine for a few seconds. He shot at its joints with an alien pulse rifle, hitting the weak points. It fell, but not for long. Behind him, another unit attacked. Leo turned just in time, but the machine struck him hard in the chest, sending him flying backward into a rock. Pain exploded through his ribs. He coughed, blood in his mouth. His vision blurred. The machine raised its blade. And then, light. A bright, blinding burst of blue light shot through the forest. The machine froze. Leo blinked through the rain and pain and saw Aya standing there. Her skin was glowing like fireflies underwater. Her eyes burned with fierce light. Her arms trembled, but her hands glowed like stars. I said. "No more," she whispered. She raised her hand and the machine turned to dust, disintegrated in midair like it was never solid. The forest went silent. Aya fell to her knees. Leo crawled to her side, grabbing her before she collapsed. "You did it," he whispered. "You fought back." Aya looked at him, her voice weak. "But it hurts. Using the power, it drains me." He held her close. "Then we'll find another way. You won't have to do it alone." But deep inside, Leo knew something had changed. Aya wasn't just protecting herself now. She was learning to fight, and the machines wouldn't stop coming. Not until they finished their mission. But now, Leo had hope. Because the girl they thought was weak had just destroyed their strongest weapon, and next time they would be ready for her power. The secret inside her. The morning after the battle, silence hung heavy over the forest. The ground was still marked with black scorch lines. Metal scraps from the destroyed hunter lay scattered like broken bones. Leo stood watch outside the bunker, holding his ribs. The pain was sharp, but his eyes stayed alert. Aya was asleep inside, her body dim now, like the light inside her had dimmed after she used too much of it. Leo had seen many things in his life, but nothing like what she did last night. She didn't just destroy a machine, she unmade it. He knew they didn't have much time. That level of power would send a signal, and someone stronger would come. Someone higher in the chain of command. Leo walked back inside and checked on Aya. Her breathing was steady, but sweat covered her skin. He placed a damp cloth on her forehead. As he turned to leave, her eyes opened slowly. "I saw it. In my dream," she whispered. "Saw what?" Leo asked. "The place they kept me," she said. "The real reason they locked me away." She sat up, wincing. "There's something inside me. A core. Not a heart. Not blood. It's a star map. A code. They built it inside me when I was still a child." Leo blinked. "A map?" Aya nodded. "To a lost planet. A place filled with energy, pure power. The ones who made me wanted to find it. They said I was the key, but the map doesn't work unless I'm alive. So they used you," Leo said softly. "They caged me," she replied. "Not just my body. My purpose." Leo felt anger rise again. She was more than just a person. She was a living doorway to something powerful, something that could shift, balance in the galaxy. No wonder they treated her like property. "But I'm dying," she said suddenly. Leo froze. "What do you mean?" Aya looked down at her hands. "The energy in me, it's unstable. When I use it too much, it burns me from the inside. The experiments damage my body. I have maybe days, maybe weeks, unless I find the healing chamber. The original one, hidden inside the ship that dropped me." Leo's jaw tightened. He remembered that ship, the one from the storm. "It's at the bottom of the ocean." Aya nodded. "They buried the ship to erase their mistake, but the chamber, it's still there." Leo stood up. "Then we get it." Aya looked at him with tired eyes. "You'll dive into the sea. For me?" "I've gone deeper for less," he said, with a small smile. "You're not just a girl anymore, Aya. You're family." He didn't wait. That same day, Leo began rebuilding his old deep-sea diving gear. The fishing boat needed adjustments. The sea was rough where the ship had sunk, and they'd have to search blind. But he wasn't afraid. He had faced storms. He had faced machines. Now, he was facing time. As the sun set, Aya stood beside him watching the ocean waves. "Do you think we'll make it?" she asked. Leo stared at the horizon. "I think they made a mistake throwing you away." He placed his hand gently on hers. "Now, we make them regret it." Far above Earth, inside a large battle cruiser, a general received the latest report. A voice spoke through a cold speaker. The girl activated the star code. The human helped her. 1 hunter destroyed. 2 units lost. The general frowned. And the location of the lost chamber? Unknown. But the signal came from the coast. "They're searching." The general turned slowly. "Send the Hunter-class dreadnought. If the girl survives long enough to unlock the map." He paused. "We lose everything." Back on Earth, the sea waited, and somewhere beneath its waves, the final key to Aya's survival remained untouched, waiting to be claimed by the very girl they once tried to erase. Returned to the depths, the sea stretched out like a vast, silent grave. Beneath its dark surface lay the wreck of the ship that had once carried Aya like trash, locked in a cage marked for disposal. Now, it held her only hope. Leo tightened the straps on his diving suit. He had repaired the oxygen tank and reinforced the suit's seals. It wasn't perfect, but it would do. Aya stood beside him on the boat, her face pale but determined. The ocean wind blew through her hair as she looked at the waves that had nearly swallowed her once. "You don't have to do this," she said softly. Leo smiled at her, that same steady look in his eyes. "Yes, I do. You were thrown into this, water to die. Now I'll go in to pull out your future." Aya didn't reply. She stepped forward and held something out, a glowing crystal shaped like a teardrop. It's a beacon. It will light the path to the healing chamber. Only I can activate it, but you must place it inside the core room. Leo took it carefully. "What happens after I put it in?" Aya looked down. It will wake the ship's AI. If the system still works, it will recognize me and start the healing process, but it might also trigger a defense signal. Which means they'll come, Leo finished. She nodded. Fast. Without another word, Leo dove into the cold water. The ocean closed over him, and all sound disappeared. Darkness swallowed him. He switched on the torch on his helmet and followed the faint glow of the beacon in his hand. It took nearly 20 minutes to find it. The cargo ship lay broken on the ocean floor, tilted sideways like a giant wounded animal. Its hull was torn, open in places. The cage Aya had been locked in was still there, twisted and empty. Leo swam inside the ship, moving past crates, flickering lights, and floating debris. The ship groaned in the water, still alive in some strange way. Finally, he found the core, room, a metal door marked with strange alien symbols. The beacon in his hand pulsed brighter as he placed it into the slot in the center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship lit up from within. A soft hum spread through the walls. Lights flickered on. A voice spoke, soft and strange. Subject 37 recognized. Healing chamber initiating. A pod rose from the floor, its shell shaped like a cocoon. Leo turned to swim back, but above him something moved. Through the water, a new shape descended fast. A hunter, bigger than the others. Sleek, black, with spinning red lights. It had followed the signal. Leo pushed off the floor and swam as fast as he could, but the machine was faster. A beam of red light cut through the water and grazed his leg. Pain shot through him, but he kept going. He reached the edge of the ship and shot toward the surface. Above, Aya stood on the boat, her eyes wide. She could feel it. Something coming. Something wrong. Then the water exploded. Leo burst from the sea, gasping. Behind him, the hunter rose like a demon of steel, hovering above the waves. Aya didn't wait. She raised both hands and focused. This time, there was no fear, only fire. Her body lit up brighter than ever before. The sky cracked as a beam of blue-white energy shot from her chest. It struck the hunter and froze it mid-air. But the machine fought back. It sent a blast toward the boat. Leo grabbed the controls and veered the vessel hard to the side, dodging the hit. Aya screamed, not in fear but in power. Her energy doubled and her feet lifted off the deck. The light consumed the hunter. With a sound like glass breaking in the sky, the machine exploded into dust. Silence followed. Leo slumped down, breathing hard. Aya collapsed beside him. But the pod had been activated. She had a chance now. They sailed back to shore quietly. Aya's body was weaker than before, but something inside her had changed. The energy had balanced. The healing had started even before she stepped into the chamber. A few days later, far from the coast, they found a small valley hidden by cliffs. Safe. Quiet. The perfect place to disappear. Aya built a small transmitter from the pieces of the old beacon, not to send a signal but to block one. No one would find her again. She looked at Leo one evening and smiled. Truly smiled for the first time. They tried to erase me. He smiled back. But you wrote yourself back in. And for the first time, the girl thrown into the sea as garbage finally felt human.